Nation states are in full freakout mode because on April 2nd, it's all going down, and the Trump admin means business. The tariff war looks like it's just getting started. And this has many of the largest CEOs in corporate America in distress because it can cause all sorts of whipsaw action in their stock. Now, in the short term, this may mean a lot more pain for TradFi markets and crypto markets, as Bitcoin dumped nearly 30% off its all-time high, and XRP put in a 44% dump before recovering to current prices of about 240. So in the short term, things aren't looking too good, but in the long term, it will likely influence businesses to bring manufacturing back into the United States, creating more jobs and keeping wealth here, as well as making us independent once again. And so what happens on April 2nd is extremely important. And if tariff on US made goods are dropped in other nations, then it's business as usual. But something leads me to believe that this report will be damning for many countries who are reliant on industry inside of the United States and our consumers. In other words, these countries will have a choice to make: stand up to Trump or crumble under the weakness of their economy without US consumerism. And the reality is, it's no fun for anyone, but it seems to be effective. Still, any more talk of new tariffs will likely spook markets, and it's not just business folks, as one key indicator is shedding light on how consumers also feel about what's happening, and it's not looking pretty. In other news, yesterday it was officially settled, and I'm talking about the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit. And although it already felt like it was, this is practically the nail in the coffin. Stuart Alderoty, the chief legal officer over at Ripple, announced the final details to this lawsuit, and it didn't seem to affect the price much at all, which has many XRP investors either confused or outright pissed off. So what's really going on? Well, we'll be covering it all in this video. So if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PauliDeFi. Now we have our very own Stuart Alderoty, chief legal officer over at Ripple, basically saying it is truly over and that this would be his last update on the SEC versus Ripple case, which is actually insane because this is essentially all anyone could think about and talk about over the last 4 years. However, it is settled. The SEC will keep $50 million of the $125 million fine that they already had in an escrow waiting or sitting in cash for the SEC. Then they are going to ask the court, and that's at the SEC's request, to lift the standard injunction that was imposed. However, it really didn't cause the market to do much of anything. As you can see, we had virtually no price action to the upside or downside. And arguably the close was so thin, you could call this a straight up doji candlestick. So the market is truly undecided on what occurs next. Whereas when we actually had the prior announcement from Brad Garlinghouse saying the lawsuit is over, you could see that we had a pump from 228 all the way up to 259. In other words, the markets ate this news up and spit it right back out, and it doesn't seem that this is affecting any price action any longer. However, it's still nice to know about the timelines. Fred Rispoli is another lawyer that's been following the case closely over the last years, and he basically said that we have to wait on a vote by the SEC Commission, which should be less than 30 days. And I'm assuming they're going to move quickly on this because this is a pretty big case, and they've been moving quickly on all of the other crypto cases. Then he said we wait on a filing by the SEC to lift the injunction, which will be unopposed by Ripple. Judge Torres will sign off on it less than 30 days from the motion filing. At most, we are 60 days out from this being 100% formally, legally, spectacularly over. In other words, when you see news like that, it's essentially already priced in, and that means that the real move was right around here, which I would argue is really weak for news this grand, which leads me to believe that the real pump was actually priced in when Trump stepped in office and everyone knew that he was going to be a crypto-friendly president. In other words, they were buying into the rumors or the idea of a crypto-friendly regulatory body, and they did not buy into the actual announcement or the news. So, buy the rumors, sell the news seems to remain true. However, XRP is holding a pretty strong range and looks relatively strong compared to other cryptos, even Bitcoin. But we'll talk about that here shortly. However, before we cover other details, if you haven't already, go ahead and check out bullrunners.com and check out Altcoin Pro University when you land on that page. In other words, if you're struggling to know whether or not you should be buying, selling, or holding your crypto portfolio, then you might want to start to tune in to the live calls that I host every single Tuesday. I just hosted one today, and this next Tuesday I will be hosting another where I dive deep into the technicals and teach you everything you need to know to be self-sufficient when it comes to looking at charts and understanding the psychology behind them so you can make the right decisions with your crypto portfolio. That said, that's not the only thing we have. We have all sorts of other live calls when you hop on over to the calendar, like the state of the market call, or guest calls, or a monthly update call, or crypto calls where we cover everything live that's happening that week. And so we're going to continue to update this calendar. And that's not all, folks. We have tons of courses and classes, one currently being updated and adding to our library. We have all sorts of researchers and analysts that are professionals that provide value and share all sorts of altcoin picks, DeFi yields, airdrops, and you name it. So the list goes on and on and on. The value is bar none the best in the space. And if you're committed to becoming a crypto millionaire this year, or just any goal of yours for that matter, we provide all the right tools, training, and resources. Now, we obviously cannot guarantee you're going to get any type of a result because it's obviously dependent on the amount of money that you have and the work that you put in. But what I can say is that we're confident that we'll help you to reach your goals. And if you're not, then you get your money back. So that said, go ahead and check out bullrunners.com if you want to get all sorts of value. So for example, today, Jason just signed up. He said this was the very first Tuesday call he'd ever been on. He didn't even remember my name. He said, I just have to say, I signed up for this yesterday and it was the best thing I've done as far as crypto goes. I learned a lot today on the call and it really made a lot of sense. I don't remember the gentleman's name. This was me, but he really is going to explain stuff. I would assume he said good at explaining stuff. Look forward to next Tuesday's call. And then Joe responded, yes, that's me. So that said, if you're interested and you want to learn more and you want all sorts of value and you also want access to our never-ending library that we're consistently adding to when it comes to strategies and guides, when to buy, when to sell, the how-tos, narratives, so on and so forth, then head over to bullrunners.com and you won't be disappointed. Now, with all of this positive news surrounding Ripple and the lawsuit truly being over, Brad Garlinghouse and team are really doubling down on what needs to occur next in order for the markets to thrive. And he said on Mornings Maria, which was a show that he did, he strongly believes we are underestimating what it means to unlock the US market through upcoming crypto legislation, as well as previous guidance and statements rescinded from the SEC and OCC, allowing FIs to work with crypto, that being financial institutions. With 4+ years of headwinds behind us, the US is ready to reclaim its leadership position. And so imagine we're starting to get a situation where not only are all cases being dropped, we'll actually have clear guidelines and regulatory clarity or rules of the road in order to operate under. And so this lifting of the injunction is just one more thing in an ocean of small and large changes as a result of the change in the administration with a massive net effect. And I think over the upcoming years, this will have a massive net effect in the same manner we're talking about tariffs, right? At the end of the day, right now, we might not see the true effects. It might even hurt a little. Like this current news, we're not seeing much of a move at all. But over the long term, we're going to see a massive net effect. And again, this is directly coming from David Schwartz, the CTO over at Ripple, and that was posted yesterday. Now, speaking of the tariff situation, in an article from the Wall Street Journal, corporate America's euphoria over Trump's golden age is giving way to distress. And wow, what a photo of Trump. You can just almost feel the stress in this face right here in this photo. So it was a really good photo by them, by the way. But as Trump unleashed an one day off the next tariff fight with America's largest trade partners, the gains unraveled in the market from when he entered, right? Everyone was really euphoric. The markets were rallying hard. And then just in a few weeks, the S&P lost $4 trillion in value, which is actually crazy. Now, markets in the past week have recovered a bit, but Trump is preparing the next shock. And this is really what I wanted to title the video because I think it's extremely important to pay attention to. On April 2nd, Liberation Day, a suite of reciprocal tariffs he said will be applied to any trade partner whatsoever that charges tariffs or imposes other trade barriers on U.S. products. And so here I have a short video from the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, talking about this day.
What I want to say is that President Trump has identified several critical industries that we let get away from us. We have to have a steel industry. We have to have an aluminum industry. He wants to bring back manufacturing to the United States. And we are putting these tariffs on. So with critical industries, we are going to bring that production back home. As far as it goes with reciprocal tariffs, President Trump, as only he can do, has created a win-win situation. We are going to, on April 2nd, we're going to produce a list of other countries' tariffs, and we are going to go to them and say, look, here's where we think the tariff levels are, non-tariff barriers, currency manipulation, unfair funding, labor suppression, and if you will stop this, we will not put up the tariff wall. If you do, then we will put up the tariff wall to protect our economy, protect our workers, and protect our industry. So again, it's win-win. Either the trade friction that these other countries have come down and we get fair trade, and if they don't follow President Trump's lead, then he will raise the tariff wall, and as he said in that video, we're going to take in substantial revenues. We're already taking in substantial revenues from the China tariffs that can be used to fund this massive government deficit that we have.
And so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is the right move long term? Scott Bessent just shared that they already are gaining a lot of new income from the Chinese tariffs, but from the short term, do you think this is going to cause a lot more pain? Or heck, do you even think it's a terrible idea in the long term? Let me know in the comments below. Now, really quickly, I'm going to dive into the XRP chart. I'm not going to spend too long on it because we're currently trading in quite a strong long range, basically trading in the same range since back on March 15th, and the current day is March 26th as you're watching this video. So here's the reality. Right now, we have failed to break for some new highs. Yes, this looks like a technical, shorter term new uptrend, if you will, because all I have to do is see, okay, this is the major low. Where's the next low? Where's the highs in between these lows? The answer is here, 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 here. Okay, where's the next low? Right here. So yes, this low is higher than this low. This low is higher than this low. These highs are higher than each other. So this high is higher than this high. So that leads me to believe this is a new trend. However, and this is really important to pay attention to, because this was a bull trap and we sold off hard into what I would call the Trump pump, ultimately what we need to happen is we really need the market to break above this range right here. And so yes, we're above it, but this is such a weak break. It leads me to believe it could potentially break down, especially with this decline declining volume. I would like to see a breakout above the range high of like 260 here on some serious volume before I get excited about XRP right now. And so personally, I'm not really adding to any of my positions because we did touch the bottom of this range for $2 down to about 195 about 9 to 8 times. And so if we touch this range right back here one more time on any dump, it looks like this thing might potentially be done moving for quite a while. Now, I'm not trying to be a bear or anything, but what leads me to believe we might be going lower is that we're going to get this new reciprocal tariff trade war going on that might spook markets a bit, but also because we just witnessed some of the best possible news we could ever experience from Stuart Alderodi, literally saying this should be his last update on the case ever, which leads me to believe that that very positive news was priced in. So the only other major positive news that we could see that would probably happen sometime after maybe 60 days or realistically maybe even 30 days if they really move on the court side, okay, at the end of the day, that we might get a spot ETF from BlackRock and other players, as many have already filed. However, I think BlackRock's going to be one of the first approved. That said, if that occurs and it happens when we're back down here or lower, I mean, I think it's going to be a little too late. So it would need to happen very soon, and that's extremely unlikely. And what even leads me to believe that we might be going slightly lower is not the fact that we haven't seen markets recover here, but it's the fact that, you know, if we get right back up here to, let's say, 88, 89, and we were already touched in 88 multiple times, but even 91, this would be our second touch of our range lows, right? What used to be a support becomes a resistance. And so I would doubt that 1 and 2 and maybe potentially 3 touches here would lead us to break out further. So I think we potentially have more downside. I would like to see a break above 91,000 and hold it on some volume on Bitcoin in order to be more confident and comfortable about my position on XRP. So personally, I'm not adding to any positions if I have them. I'm not selling any positions if I have it either. I'm just kind of waiting. This is a patience game right now. I don't want to be adding to any risk, and I don't ultimately want to be selling a position if I'm massively in profit when this thing has failed to really break down, because it does look stronger than Bitcoin. But still, even from a consumer sentiment standpoint, you can see that right here, crypto thrives on liquidity. And right now, consumer sentiment is down for the 4th straight month in a row. And the last time that this type of a trend actually occurred was back in 2022 through October. And the markets continued dumping after that to the tune of another about 30%. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but from a consumer side, that looks pretty bearish. And so if we, and you can see that there's a lot of indecision in the markets right now, don't get any more positive catalysts, the intermediate term trend is down. And by the way, another 30% down from here would take us to about $62,000, which some great analysts that I know and follow have been calling for on Bitcoin. I think that could potentially be the local bottom. This market trades a lot different than it used to. It doesn't trade as volatile as it used to, or at least to the upside, right? It's still very volatile, but I would say to the upside, it used to be a lot stronger, but then it matured. Then more money came in. Then as more money flowed in, we had more sophisticated investors and institutions, which are able to move prices in different ways that we haven't seen before or expected. So you can expect the unexpected at this moment in time. And that's why I'm saying it's very much possible we could dump down to $62,000. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But again, the last time we saw a negative reading 4 months in a row on consumer sentiment, markets continued to dump. So I would just pay attention to all these indicators. The indicator that we just saw, some of the best news, markets failed to move. We recently saw that April 2nd, we're going to get more potential tariff trade wars, right? The fact that this rally to the upside is still on very weak volume. Even on Bitcoin, you can see that we actually had increased volume on the sell side, but very weak buy volume on this retrace. Typically, I'd like to see some bigger buys step in here. So either we need to break above the $91,000 level, or, right, this is really just another retrace in a shorter, or I would say an intermediate term downtrend that can go lower. And by the way, you bet that if Bitcoin starts to break down, I can assure you XRP is not only hitting $2, but on the next touch, it's likely going down to 150 and potentially even lower. So I'd be paying very close attention to what happens over the next day or two. And XRP really needs to break above that $2.60 range sooner rather than later in order for this thing to really rally and potentially put in some new highs. So that's it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also check out bullrunners.com and see everything that Altcoin Pro University has to offer. We will be updating our sales video soon, but here's a 26-minute video that explains everything you get on the other side, and that would include access to live events that we're going to host between 1 to 2 times a year, and we're going to try to get that up as we get more of a system down for hosting these live events. So thanks so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.